Journeys are rarely kind. They don't slow down because you're tired, and they don't soften just because you're afraid. But as humans, we walk them anyway. Not because we're certain of the destination, but because stopping would mean letting the road decide for us. And so we keep moving. Together when we're fortunate, alone when we must, even when the world ahead feels merciless. Light reached me before sound did. Not harsh, not blinding, just present, warm against my eyelids. I opened my eyes slowly. The first thing I noticed was the ground. Not stone, not polished, uneven, soft, cold with moisture, leaves, soil. I inhaled carefully. My chest tightened. Not sharp pain, something deeper than that. Like something inside me had shifted, not cracked, shifted. I stayed still, waiting for something to happen. Nothing did. No voices, no footsteps, no hands pulling me upright. Only wind moving through leaves above me. Morning. The sun had already climbed, which meant no one had woken me. No one had dragged me away. No one had checked. I wasn't safe. I was just still alive. The forest around me was dense. Tall trees, thick undergrowth. Light filtered through in fractured patterns. Beyond them, the dark slope of a mountain rising silently. It was beautiful, and it felt nothing from me. I didn't know where I was. Didn't know which direction led anywhere. Didn't know if anyone would come. Strangely, I didn't panic. The fear had already burned itself out. What remained was quieter, heavier. The world continued without me. Birds moved somewhere above. Leaves shifted. Something small scurried through the brush and vanished. Whatever had happened to me last night had not mattered to this place. I tried to sit up. Pain answered immediately. My ribs protested. My shoulder lagged behind. My leg trembled under its own weight. Nothing broken, but nothing aligned either. I paused, not to brace myself, to think. My body felt wrong, like a structure after impact, still standing, but carrying weight it wasn't meant to. I adjusted my posture, shifted my center of gravity, redistributed pressure away from the points that screamed. Slowly, carefully. The pain didn't disappear, but it stopped escalating. That unsettled me. My body responded too well, as if it understood what I was asking of it. I didn't feel relief. I felt alert. Nearby, the ground wasn't entirely wild. A faint dirt path, stones placed with intention, not randomly. Old, weathered, abandoned. Someone had passed through here once. They hadn't stayed. As I rested there, breathing slowly, I felt it. Not a presence, not danger, just the sense that the silence around me was not entirely empty. I didn't look around, didn't call out. If someone was there, they were choosing not to be seen. So I sat back down, my back against a tree, breathing measured. Not because it was wise, not because it was safe, but because my body had reached its limit. And for now, that was enough. I stayed where I was, my back against the tree, breathing slow, letting the tremor in my legs settle on its own. The forest hadn't changed. Wind still moved through leaves. Light still fell in broken lines. Nothing felt urgent. That was why I noticed it. Not sound, movement. A shift in the pattern of stillness. Something stepped between the trees. Not rushing, not hiding, just there. I straightened slightly. Pain answered, dull, immediate. I didn't reach for anything, didn't stand. I watched. The figure stopped several steps away, far enough not to threaten, close enough to be intentional. An elf, tall, lean, travel-worn gear, practical, used, not ceremonial, not pristine. Failwin. For a moment, neither of us spoke. No dramatic pause, no tension snapping tight. Just two people measuring distance. "You're alive," she said. Her voice was calm, low, almost tired. I nodded once. I didn't trust my breath yet. She didn't come closer, didn't look relieved, didn't look disappointed, just observant. "Oak Haven is in chaos," she continued, as if closing a gap that needed closing. "The structure you were in collapsed. Part of the inner district went with it." Her gaze stayed on me, present, not intrusive. Guards panicked. Orders contradicted each other. The city isn't safe right now. I said nothing. She shifted her weight, grounded, careful. "I went back to the ruins," she said. "I thought you might be trapped." A brief pause. "You weren't there." That told me enough. She hadn't come for answers. She had come for a body. "I was the one who brought you there," she said. Not an apology, a statement. "I believed Oak Haven was stable, controlled. I misjudged that." Her eyes flicked to my shoulder, to my stance, to my leg. She didn't comment. "I followed your route instead," she went on. "Not directly. You were hurt. You avoided steep ground. You rested when you could." She gestured lightly toward the faint path behind me. "Your steps dragged, then steadied. You adjusted your pace after the tree line." It wasn't magic, just attention. "I can see well at night," she added. "Tracks linger longer than people think, if you know what to look for." I let out a slow breath. Didn't argue, didn't accuse. I didn't know what I felt yet. Failwin remained where she was. No offer of help, no promise of protection, just presence. The forest filled the space between us. "You don't owe me anything," she said, "and I won't pretend this fixes what happened. But I won't walk away from a consequence I helped create." That landed heavier than an apology ever could. I shifted again, testing my balance. She noticed, didn't move, didn't ask, just filed it away. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Not awkward, not strained. Like two travelers standing at a fork, neither ready to claim the road out loud. Eventually, I exhaled. Not a decision. Acceptance of reality. Phaelwyn didn't leave, and I didn't tell her to. When I finally pushed myself to my feet, slow, uneven, she turned, adjusting her pace without comment. Not leading, not following too closely, just walking in the same direction, for now. The forest eased as the morning passed, not by becoming safer, but by becoming familiar. The ground grew less uneven. The air warmed. Light filtered more generously between the branches. We walked, slow, measured. My body complained, but in ways I could predict now. Pain no longer surprised me. It announced itself early, giving me time to adjust. Phaelwyn noticed everything. Not my pain, but how I worked around it. She didn't ask why I chose certain paths. Didn't comment when I avoided loose stone or steep descents. She mirrored my choices when it mattered. That, more than anything, kept me upright. Eventually, we stopped near a shallow stream. Clear water, cold, moving steadily downhill. I knelt, bracing myself carefully, and washed the dried blood from my hands. Phaelwyn stood watch, not alert, not relaxed, present. "You move like you're still injured," she said. "I am." "You don't treat it like a weakness." I considered that. "It's a limit," I said, "not the same thing." She nodded once, understanding, not agreement. We rested longer than necessary. Not because we were safe, because neither of us was in a hurry to test what came next. Conversation came in fragments. Names, not stories. Directions, not destinations. I noticed how she positioned herself without thinking, always leaving a clear line of sight, always keeping space, never crowding. She noticed how I shifted my weight before standing, how I tested the ground with my heel before committing. Different instincts, compatible. At one point, she handed me a strip of dried food. I hesitated. She didn't push, just held it there. I took it. No ceremony, no debt implied. When we moved again, she didn't lead. She adjusted her stride to mine. A subtle thing, easy to miss, hard to fake. The forest remained quiet, almost kind. Almost. Neither of us said it out loud, but we both knew. This stretch of calm wasn't a gift. It was a pause. And pauses in unfamiliar worlds were rarely permanent. Night arrived without ceremony. One moment, the forest was merely dim. The next, shadows had weight. We didn't discuss it. Stopping was mutual. Phaelwyn chose a shallow recess between stone and root, sheltered from wind, hidden from most angles. She moved with familiarity, as if night was not a change, but a return. I lowered myself carefully, my back against a tree, letting the last of the light drain from the canopy above. Failwind knelt and worked the fire, not with flint, not with careless sparks. She moved methodically, coaxing flame from prepared tinder, shielding it with her body until it caught. The fire stayed small, contained, disciplined. Its glow barely reached beyond the clearing. She set a small metal vessel above the embers, poured water from a skin, then added one thing: a single strip of plant matter, dark, twisted, dropped into the warming liquid. I watched. She did not comment. Soon, steam rose. Not sharp, not medicinal, warm. She handed me the cup first. I hesitated, not because I thought it was poison, because trusting unfamiliar things had already cost me once. Failwind did not rush me, did not explain, did not insist. So I drank. The taste surprised me. Earthy, bitter at first, then warmth, like tea, like ginger, like something herbal I couldn't name but recognized anyway. It settled in my chest as I swallowed, loosening something that had stayed clenched since Oakhaven. "That's good," I said. She nodded. "It's meant to steady," she replied. "Not to please." She drank her own without comment. From her pack, she produced compact strips of dried food. Dense, unassuming. She offered one. I took it. It tasted like nothing, and yet, after a few bites, my stomach quieted. Not full, just resolved. I leaned back slightly, watching the fire breathe. "Your drink," I said after a while. "It uses one plant." "Yes, but it tastes layered." She looked at the cup. "Heat changes things." The answer lingered. The quiet settled without asking permission. Not empty, just shared. The fire had burned down to a disciplined glow, low, contained, never allowed to wander. Somewhere beyond it, the forest held its breath in the way living things do when nothing urgent demands attention. Liam broke the silence carefully. "If you don't mind," he said, "where are you from?" Failwind didn't answer right away. She adjusted the strap of her gear, eyes following the edge of the fire as it breathed, controlled, deliberate, never careless. "I'm from the forests around here," she said at last. Liam glanced up. "The forest? Not a city?" Her gaze shifted to him then. Not sharp, not offended, just direct. "Elves don't speak of their origins lightly," she said. The words weren't a warning, they were a fact. She held his look for a moment longer, long enough to make sure he understood it wasn't personal, then turned back to the fire. "I know you didn't mean anything by it," she added quietly. The fire cracked once, sending a brief scatter of embers into the dark. That was the end of it. She didn't close herself off. She didn't open the door either. But she had answered, as much as she intended to. Silence returned. Not empty, companionable. The forest at night felt closer. Sounds carried farther. Movements mattered more. "You didn't ask much before," Failwind said eventually. "I ask when it's useful." "And when it isn't?" I watch. A corner of her mouth lifted, barely. That explains how you're still walking. The fire crackled softly. For one brief moment, the world felt small enough to manage. Contained by darkness, anchored by warmth. I almost believed it would last. Then, something changed. Not a sound, a pressure. The kind that made the ground feel heavier. Phaelwyn's head lifted slightly. Not alert, curious. That hesitation was enough. The trees burst outward. A massive shape tore from the dark, moving far too fast for something that large. Branches snapped. The fire guttered as a wall of shadow crossed it. Phaelwyn turned, and the creature was already there. A single claw swept across her left side. Leather tore, flesh opened. Blood arced through the firelight, dark and sudden. The impact threw her hard into the ground. The sound she made was not a scream, just air forced violently from her lungs. The fire flared. For an instant I saw it clearly. A bear-shaped thing, but wrong. Its body was too dense, packed with muscle beneath fur that wasn't fur at all, but stiff, needle-hard strands that caught the light like iron filings. Its claws were grotesquely long, curved and narrow, built to hook and pull, not crush. When it lifted its head, its eyes caught the flames. Red, not glowing, watching. Phaelwyn rolled, instinct fighting pain. One arm clamped tight against her chest. Blood spilled between her fingers. Too much, too fast. The wound gaped beneath her left breast, rising and falling unevenly with her breath. The creature inhaled, slow, deliberate. Its chest expanded as it tasted the air. Us. The fire cracked, sparks lifting into the dark. Shadows twisted around us. Phaelwyn tried to rise, her movement faltered. The beast stepped forward, one heavy paw sinking into the earth, testing, preparing. The forest pulled inward. Every sound collapsed around that single presence. The warmth of the fire vanished. All that remained was blood, breath, and the certainty that whatever stood before us had not come to chase. It had come to end something. The beast moved. Fast. Too fast for its size. The ground shook as it charged, claws carving trenches through soil and root alike. One swipe struck the log beside the fire. Wood burst apart, splinters flared, burned briefly, then died. I dove aside. Pain flared as I rolled, my shoulder protesting, my breath breaking unevenly. The creature did not slow. It corrected instantly, a mass of muscle and momentum that did not hesitate, did not test, did not doubt. Phaelwyn met it head on. Steel rang against something that was not flesh. Her blade struck the creature's flank and slid. Sparks scattered. The fur did not part, did not bend. It was like striking layered bark reinforced with iron. She struck again and again, each blow precise, each one useless. The beast roared and backhanded her through the air. She hit the ground hard, skidding across dirt and stone, blood marking her path. I forced myself upright, vision narrowing, thoughts lagging behind motion. The beast roared and backhanded her through the air. She hit the ground hard, skidding across dirt and stone, blood marking her path. I forced myself upright, vision narrowing, thoughts lagging behind motion. There was no room, no terrain to exploit. The clearing was too small, the trees too close. The fire had become a liability, shadows leaping with every movement. Running was not an option. Even if we tried, it would catch us, especially her. The creature lunged again. Failwin barely rolled clear, its claws biting deep into the earth where her body had been. She came up on one knee, staggered, still fighting, still alive, but slowing. Blood darkened her armor, spreading with each breath. Her breathing was uneven, short on one side, shallow on the other. The beast drew back, preparing another charge. That was when my perception shifted. I stopped seeing it as a monster and began seeing it as a structure. Its power was undeniable, but rigid. Every attack committed fully. No feints, no corrections. Its shoulders locked forward when it struck, pouring all its mass into momentum. Devastating, inflexible. I shouted to Failwin, not a warning, an instruction, that the creature could not turn mid-lunge, that it committed too much weight forward. She glanced at me, briefly, not trusting, not questioning, listening, because there was nothing else left. The beast charged again. Choice vanished. Failwin moved, not retreating, angling herself just enough to draw its focus, letting it commit. At the last moment, she twisted aside. The beast overshot. Its massive frame lurched, balance broken for a fraction of a second. And there it was, a narrow seam where armor yielded to motion. Failwin struck. Not hard, precise. Steel slid into the joint beneath the shoulder where force met function. The creature screamed, a sound wrong in shape and weight. It thrashed, trying to turn, trying to reach her, but its own mass betrayed it. She struck again, deeper. The beast collapsed with a heavy finality, claws tearing uselessly at the earth before falling still. Silence returned, heavy, sudden. I did not feel relief. I felt the aftermath. Failwin staggered. Her blade slipped from her hand. One step, then another. She dropped to one knee. Blood flowed freely now, the wound torn wider by motion. Each breath shuddered through her, uneven and sharp. The fight was over. What followed would not be decided by strength or steel, only by time. The silence after the fight felt wrong. Too wide, too empty. Failwin sat slumped against a broken root, one arm pressed tight to her chest. Her color had drained, not pale with fear, but thinned, as if warmth itself were leaking out of her. Her breathing was uneven, short on one side, shallow on the other. Blood still slipped between her fingers, not pulsing, persisting. You need to lie down, I said. She shook her head once. No, she replied quietly. If I do, I might not get back up. That told me everything. Before I moved, I paused. Not from doubt, from calculation. The wound opened and closed with her breath, pulled wider each time her ribs shifted. I had seen this pattern before, not in flesh, but in failure. A structure under stress, not collapsing from force, but from motion it was never meant to carry. In this world, things did not break all at once. They failed when strain went unmanaged. If I could not close the wound, I could still change how it carried itself. Redistribute pressure, limit movement, reduce loss. Not healing, stabilization. Enough to matter, enough to buy time. Doing nothing was no longer an option. I crouched in front of her, keeping my movements slow, visible. Failwin, I said, choosing each word. I can slow the bleeding, reduce the strain. Her eyes lifted to mine, clear, present. But, I continued, the position makes it complicated. She waited. I'll need to touch you, I said, closer than you might like. The forest seemed to hold still. Then she nodded. Do what you need to do, she said. Pain is already here. Awkwardness dismissed. When the torn leather fell away, I was aware of it immediately. The cut ran just beneath her left breast, following the curve of her ribs. Fresh, deep enough to be dangerous, shallow enough to lie. Her skin there. I wasn't prepared for it. It wasn't just smooth. It had a depth to it, like polished stone warmed by the sun, like light caught beneath water, unmarred, unbroken, except where the wound had violated it. Even smeared with blood, it was beautiful. Not in a way that demanded attention, in a way that made attention unavoidable. I froze for a fraction of a second longer than I should have. The warmth of her skin under my fingers, the rise and fall of her breath, the curve of her body where anatomy met vulnerability. I forced myself to refocus. This wasn't desire. It was proximity. And proximity could lie. I let the observation pass. Not denied, not indulged, set aside. What mattered now was structure, stability, time. I'm going to apply pressure here, I said, and change how you're sitting. Your ribs are pulling against the tear. She nodded, did not look away. I placed my hand carefully, supporting muscle and bone, redistributing tension the way I would with a damaged beam. Her breath hitched once, then steadied. I adjusted her posture by inches, not forcing, allowing the structure to carry itself again. The bleeding slowed, not stopped, but slowed enough to matter. I bound the wound tightly, anchoring it so movement would not reopen it. Failwind sagged slightly as the pain eased, contained. You think strangely, she murmured. I don't think, I said softly. I analyze. A faint smile touched her lips. That may be worse. Her grip on my sleeve loosened. Her breathing evened, shallow but regular. And then she slept. Right there. Bloodied. Exhausted. Alive. I remained where I was, hands hovering uselessly now, aware of how close I still sat. She would never know what I had noticed, what I had felt, what I had deliberately set aside. And I intended to keep it that way. The fire sank back to embers. The forest reclaimed its night. Phaelwyn slept. The wound was stable, for now. And I kept watch, guarding the narrow line between necessity and temptation, knowing I had crossed it and chosen to come back. I woke to cold, not the sharp kind, the empty kind. The fire had burned down to ash and blackened wood. No warmth, no sound except the forest breathing itself awake. For a moment, I thought I had slept through her death. Then I saw the armor. It lay where she had been the night before, carefully placed, not discarded. Leather folded, straps loosened, metal set aside with deliberate order. Phaelwyn was gone. I pushed myself upright too fast, pain flaring briefly before settling into its familiar place. My eyes traced the clearing, the tree line, the spaces between shadows. Nothing moved. No sign of struggle, no blood, no trail of urgency, just absence. And the armor. I stood there longer than I should have, until footsteps reached me from the trees. Light, unhurried. I turned. Phaelwyn emerged carrying a small bundle of plants. She wasn't wearing her armor. Instead, a thin old tunic, softened by age, cut for movement rather than modesty. It lay light across her frame, leaving her shoulders bare, her abdomen partially exposed. Practical, unadorned. The bandage around her chest was fresh now, tighter, cleaner, only faintly stained. She noticed me looking, didn't react. "I needed these," she said, as if she had only stepped away for water. "The kind that encourage closure, not recovery." "Closure?" I asked. She nodded. "They help wounds seal if the body has already chosen to live." That made sense. "I couldn't use them last night," she continued. "Too much movement, too much blood." She shifted the bundle in her hand. "Now they'll work." I exhaled slowly, tension loosening from a place I hadn't realized was locked. "You left your armor," I said. "Yes." "You're injured." "Yes." I waited. "If I wore it," she said calmly, "it would pull at the wound, reopen it." Logic, clear, still reckless. "You could have told me," I said. "I didn't want you to wake and insist on coming." That was fair. She knelt by the fire pit and began preparing the plants, crushing some, binding others with practiced ease. The movement tugged at the bandage. She winced, did not stop. "You shouldn't be moving," I said. She glanced up. "Neither should you." I had no answer. As she worked, I became aware of her presence. Not desire. Form. Light along her shoulders. The contrast between wrapped injury and unmarked skin. Fragile and resilient at once. It unsettled me. Not because she was beautiful, but because she was wounded and still choosing function over comfort. "You're staring," she said. Not accusing, observing. "Analyzing," I replied. Her mouth twitched, barely. "Of course." She finished binding the herbs and secured them over the bandage, tightening the wrap with careful pressure. Her breathing stayed controlled. The bleeding did not return. She leaned back against the tree, exhaustion finally arriving. "This will hold," she said. "For how long?" She shrugged. "Long enough." That answer stayed with me. She rested with her eyes closed, not collapsing, but trusting the moment, trusting me to keep watch. I sat nearby, keeping distance, listening to her breath even out again. She didn't know what I had noticed, what I had interrupted, and I would not burden her with it. Some things were meant to remain unspoken, at least until they mattered. She didn't sleep long. Her breath shifted first. Then her fingers curled slightly against the earth. When her eyes opened, they were clear, the kind of clarity that comes from learning to wake before pain does. She tested her breath. Slow, measured. Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Then she sat up, careful, controlled. "You should rest longer," I said. She shook her head once. "Rest won't improve this." She adjusted the bandage, precise and practiced. The wound held, but only just. Her breath shortened when she leaned too far, pain catching and releasing like a warning. "We can't stay here," she said, not urgently, decisively. "There's a healer," she continued. "Not in the city. Too many eyes. Near an old road." She looked toward the trees, already measuring distance. "She doesn't take everyone," she added, "and she doesn't hurry." That told me enough. "How far?" "Half a day, if we're careful. A full one, if we aren't." Silence settled. Not uncertainty. Wait. "I can walk," she said before I asked. "Slowly." I nodded. No argument. She watched my reaction anyway. "I won't wear the armor," she added. "I know." That surprised her, just a little. She reached for the armor, then stopped, left it where it lay. Instead, she reached for a thin outer garment. Insufficient. I stood, removed my jacket and held it out. She looked at it, then at me, then took it. She slipped it on carefully, testing the weight, how it settled. It wasn't made for her, but it closed the air, held warmth without pulling at the wound. She flexed once. "Strange," she said. "How so?" "It's not armor," she replied, "but it resists the world more than cloth should." I didn't explain. She adjusted it once more. "That will do." She rose slowly, steadying herself until balance returned. When she stood on her own, she didn't look at me. "We leave now," she said, "before the pain decides for me." I stepped aside. She took the lead. And just like that, the stillness ended. Not with urgency, but with direction. We moved once the light had fully settled into the forest. Phaelwyn set the pace. Not fast, not slow, deliberate. She chose paths that curved instead of cutting straight through, ground that held rather than challenged. When the terrain sloped, she angled away. When roots crowded the soil, she stepped wide. I noticed she never looked back. She didn't need to. After some distance, she spoke. "The road we're heading toward isn't used much anymore," she said. "That's why the healer chose it." I nodded. "People avoid places that don't promise comfort," she continued. "They come only when they have no better option." That was the trigger. "So this is normal?" I asked. She glanced sideways, briefly. "What is?" "Running into things that want to kill you," I said. "Every time you stop long enough to breathe." She didn't answer right away. We walked a few more steps. Leaves shifted underfoot. Birds scattered ahead of us. "When I first left the inner woods," Phaelwyn said at last, "I lost 3 companions in the span of a season." I looked at her then. She wasn't looking at me. "Not all at once," she added. "That would have been easier to understand." I swallowed. "My first day here," I said carefully, "I was chased by something I didn't know how to fight. That night, a city smiled at me while deciding how to use me. This morning, a beast nearly killed you." I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. I don't even know what counts as a quiet day in this world. Phaelwyn stopped. Not abruptly. She turned and faced me fully. "A quiet day," she said, "is one where nothing surprises you." I frowned. "That doesn't sound reassuring." "It isn't," she replied, "but it becomes familiar." She adjusted the jacket at her shoulders, the fabric shifting softly. "This forest," she continued, "is not especially dangerous. It's just alive. Things hunt. Things are hunted. Sometimes you cross the wrong path at the wrong time." "And cities?" I asked. Her mouth tightened slightly. "Cities hide it better," she said. I let out a short, humorless breath. She studied my face for a moment longer. "You're not afraid of dying," she said. "I am," I replied. "No," she corrected. "You're afraid of not knowing what will try to kill you next." The words settled uncomfortably close to the truth. She turned and resumed walking. "That fear fades," she said, "not because the world becomes safer, but because you stop expecting it to wait its turn." I followed. We walked in silence again, but it felt different now. Not heavier, just clearer. By midday, the forest began to thin. The ground changed first, less wild, more worn. Stones appeared where they hadn't before, not a road, just the memory of one. Phaelwyn slowed. "There," she said. Ahead, tucked against a low rise of earth and stone, stood a small structure. Not a house, something older. Wood darkened by years of smoke. Stone stacked for endurance, not symmetry. A roof sloped low, heavy with age and moss. Smoke drifted from a narrow vent. Thin, steady, alive. "This is it?" I asked quietly. She nodded. "She doesn't like noise," Phalwyn said, "or haste." I looked at the place again. It didn't welcome. It didn't warn. It simply existed, waiting to see if we were worth the trouble. Phalwyn took a breath, adjusted her stance, then stepped forward. The door opened before Phalwyn could knock. Not wide, just enough. A woman stood in the gap, shorter than Phalwyn, older by decades. Her back bent slightly forward, as if the world had spent years leaning its weight against her. Her hair was gray and bound tight. Her eyes were sharp. They went straight to the bandage beneath Phalwyn's chest, then narrowed. "You're late," the woman said. Phalwyn inclined her head. "I know." The healer opened the door fully and stepped aside. "Inside," she said, slowly. Phalwyn moved without argument. As she crossed the threshold, the healer's gaze flicked to me. It paused, measured, then dismissed. "You," she said flatly. "Stay out." I didn't move. Not in defiance, in confirmation. "This isn't a request," she added, "and it isn't personal." Phalwyn stopped just inside the doorway. "He's the one who stopped the bleeding," she said. "No magic, no tools from this place." The healer grunted. "That explains why you're still walking," she muttered. She turned back to Phalwyn. Her tone left no room for discussion. "Sit. Jacket off. Slowly." Phalwyn complied. I stepped forward without thinking, and the healer's eyes snapped back to me. "One more step," she said, "and you leave the property." That was enough. I stopped. Phalwyn didn't look back. She met my eyes once, brief, steady. "Wait," she said. Just that. The door closed between us. Not slammed, not locked. Final. I stood there, listening. Inside, water poured. Metal was set down. Cloth tore. Phalwyn spoke once, short, controlled. Then nothing. Time stretched. I sat on a low stone near the wall, hands resting uselessly against my knees, staring at the ground as if minutes could be measured by shifting shadows. There was nothing I could do. Not analyze, not stabilize, not help. My presence served no purpose here, and that absence cut deeper than any blade. I closed my eyes. The house breathed around the pane. Smoke curled lazily from the vent above. Birds resumed their calls, uncaring. Whatever happened inside, the world did not pause to witness it. And all I could do was sit outside the door, waiting, learning what it meant to place something vital into hands that were not my own.